Well, I got a little further. I went ahead and got the piston off. This was crazy. I had to get a piston pin puller on that to get this wrist pin out of this piston. And it actually goes in and out of the piston pretty snug, but it goes in and out fine. Goes in inside the bearing fine, but when I put the bearing in the rod, I can't get the pin to go in. Oh, I did that time. Oh, now she's stuck. Good grief. That's not right. You see the dark discoloration underneath. It's heat. It's oil baked on. The heat could have been caused by a number of things. It could be from crappy oil. Looking at the condition of the bar and chain and the sprocket and stuff, that could have been it. He could have been, really loading it. If you look at the top end of this rod here, you can see it's dark and discolored. Can you see that? Yeah. And really burnt looking. Never seen that on the upper rod like that. I mean, I've seen heat up there, but not with oil baked on it. The crank bearings, you can hear they're a little rough, but they're really stiff. Look how it just stops. It doesn't roll. I think we've just got a bunch of heat is what's done this thing in. Thankfully, if you remember from the last video, the cylinder survived. Piston got a little scuff on it, but not into the rings or anything. No, I think a new piston definitely. While we're at it, I'm going to just tear this thing all the way down. I'm going to work up an estimate on the complete rebuild. Hopefully, I can get a better look at that top rod bearing when I get this crankshaft out of here. That way I can verify that, I can trust that thing to survive and run again. This is where it gets a little concerning. You put new piston and stuff, and then that inner surface of that upper rod bearing takes that rod bearing out. I mean, I've got some weird patterning that I can see. I have a sneaking suspicion the crank is going to need to be replaced. Trying to find an OEM crank for an 064. That sucks. That it's gone this far. If I had to lay a wager, I mean, granted that loose muffler didn't help any, but you can see, maybe you can see, I don't know, I still can't find my flashlight, but the carbon, you can't. Come on, Larry. What are you doing here? I don't know if you can see that or not, but you can kind of see the carbon. Look at that, and that exhaust port. That's just crap. Whoa. That's crappy oil, along with heat, which one is kind of goes with the other. I'm gonna lay off the crappy oil thing. I don't know if this guy watches my channel or not, but I don't have very many followers, so the few and faithful, I don't know. Yeah, it just is what it is. I do this stuff for fun. I've been doing the saw thing all my life. In my younger days, I pretty much did all types of repairs, very little on saws because we had a saw specialist. But once I moved on past that, I did a lot of saws. And I've been doing saws ever since. As a young man, I don't know about you guys, I couldn't afford new saws. So I, like my 044 I was talking about before, that saw was made from, I don't know, 8 or 10 different blown up 044s. Just started collecting parts. And then I put a saw together. Of course, that was the best darn 44 I ever had my hands on. Probably never be able to duplicate that saw because I did some special things to it. Which I wouldn't even attempt to duplicate today. It was pretty exotic. But what was cool about it was that it ran really hard and it never let me down. And I know I keep dripping fuel here. The stupid screws aren't in the tank here. There's not that much fuel in there. That's why I keep my handy dandy rag hanging around. Oh yeah, one more. That and that is it. Got that one and that one and that one. Huh? Hey dummy, take the pulse line off. That couldn't have been it. Boy, it's such a good saw, it doesn't want to come apart. That one's loose. That's loose. That one's loose. That one's loose. Well, let it go already. Oh, I'm looking like a great googly moogly. There's nothing else in there. The intake pipe's already gone. What is so filthy I can't hardly even see anything. But yeah, this tank should just come off of there. Someone's probably watching out there saying, "Hey, dummy." I'll take it. We might just edit this part out. How about that? There we go. I just had to go a little harder. Trying to be gentile. Okay. Now we're down. Just the cases. See how much more it's got in here. It's got a touch. Got my ball oil waste bucket right here. Let that drain out a little bit. So what's your favorite saw? Still, Husky, Johnson Red, Pioneer, Home Light, McCulloch, Solo, Frontier, Remington, Olympic, Lombard. Oh, can't forget Poulin. Worked on all of them. Well, let's just dig through this mess and get these cases split. Now, make sure she's broke over. Don't lose that little E-clip. You're not going to go to your local hardware store and find that. I guarantee. See now, you do that enough times, that just comes off without flinging across the room. So now I just take the, walk that off. Try to walk them off together if I can. There we go. That little humidity comes out of there. Pay attention to how that came out, because it could cause you grief. A little bit of consternation trying to figure out how that goes back in. Yeah, I've always had a good mind. I wouldn't say photographic, but if I take it apart, it's locked in there. Not everyone has that. I realize that through the years. But it is a nice gift to have. That little stupid roll pin there. She's in there. By golly, she's in there. Bunch of gum pucky. There we go. Had to get some boogers out of the way. Good gravy. That's the thing about working on these saws. You want to wash them off beforehand, but you're still gonna get dirty. Still gonna get dirty. You're gonna get all this saw gook on you. But yeah, that's part of it. Take the oiler tube goo gauge out of there. I like to take the hose and everything out of this assembly if I can. Sometimes it just won't let you. Sometimes you gotta get tool for the job so you don't screw up that hose. I don't know, this one might just not want to come out of there. Oh, there it goes. Oh, mama! That could have been some meat off my knuckle. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Here we go. Here we go. almost there. There it is. There. I'll probably end up. I don't want to lose that little spring. Now that I think about it, I'll just grab that little buddy and I'll drop him in there. That other lever will stay in there. Yeah. I think we're about ready to split this bad boy. Again. Man, he threw the chain a few times. Ain't a whole lot of that screw left. Brian, I'm not busting your hump about everything you did wrong here. I'm just pointing out the condition of the saw. That's all I'm doing. If I remember right, yeah, there is a screw right down in there. So we'll just get that kicked out of the way. Get that kicked out of the way. Oh, hell, I'll just take it off. Slip back in there just because I can, but I want to get this hole cleaned out. You could just stick your air hose down in there and then eat a face full of gack. I do. Look at that there. Some of those are not gonna just fall out. Too dirty. That one's gonna need some persuading. There it is. That one's gonna still stay in there. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. I believe that is all of them. Collected some garbage down in there. All right. The old case splitter out here. Run that down. On mine, I bent these out a little bit. On some of these, it's a lot easier to just take the crank out of the bearing instead of the bearing with the crank. Just depends. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. It's just a matter of cranking on it. Double check, triple check, quadruple check. Make sure you got the screws out of there. I do. I mean, there's only so many. Oh, there we go. I just have to question myself, that's all. This might be questionable to some people, but sometimes a little tappy tap, because you got these pins down here. I like just making sure that it comes off square and doesn't break the cases. The gap's the same all the way. It's a little further in the back, but she's coming around to my way of thinking. Oh yeah. Look at that bearing cage. She's just corrody, baked on oil. Baked on. Funny. Without that bearing on there, the crank moves a lot freer. And then you just push the come on. Don't be like that, sweetheart. I guess you just want to be like that. Fine. Wow, tight. Tight, tight. There she goes. She got rid of the initial boom. Okay. This bearing looks a little better, but still, you can see the cage is just black. Just black. And that bearing's a little rough. So, here's the big looky-loo here. I just knocked some of it off. You can see the oil caked on the bottom of that rod. You can get a better look at that rod. Oop. Somewhere in there. But you'll see. You know, you'll see some discoloration because they heat treat this, but that's oil baked on. That's what that is. And okay, I was seeing things like what we have. It's just some oil baked on outside where the needles are riding on there, so I think that that top end's going to work. You know, checking for radial play. You've probably seen this done a million times. I would slide it off to one side, keep it lined up with the crank weight, and you just hold it and you try and get any play this way and this way. I mean, even the slightest bit, I would replace it. And this one, and then you do the other side. Because you'll get this. I thought I felt something there. Ooh. Huh. Oh, I was imagining things. Even have oil baked on the end of the crank pin, onto the crank weight, both sides. That's just oil baked on there. But, ugh, look at that. That's showing signs of, there it is, right here. That bearing had been moving on that crank a little bit. But as tight as that bearing came off, it's probably okay. It's not like it was sitting there spinning, but it had moved. That might have been, you know, the very last thing it did when it ran out of gas on this guy. I mean, that's his story, and I believe him. I don't know why he would make that up, but yeah. But that bearing came on and off of there, or excuse me, came off of there nice and tight. I think it'll be all right, because I'm not feeling anything. Ooh, just barely something with my fingernail. I can't work like this. I need catch all that goo in the trash. All right. I gotta get some new bearings up here. Whoa. Yeah, I'm gonna press up. Well, at this point, I think the crank is good. I'm going to go ahead and proceed as it is, because I've got to clean all these parts out. And what I do with the parts is I have a hot tank, old vertical hot tank, and I run all the parts through plastics and everything. Makes a solid. Gets it as clean as it's gonna get, and they look really nice when it's done. Plus, then you have a nice clean parts to work with. You can have it clean the bench off real good, and then you can put it together, and it'll be clean. The environment will be clean, and so at this point, I'm at the point of just stopping, and I'll be working this guy up an estimate. I'm hoping I can come up with I'd like to find someone with OEM piston. I know these aftermarket ones are pretty good, but they're not the same. I don't care who you are, you have to agree with me on that one. They're not the same. Anyhow, that's the long version, and thanks for watching. We'll talk to you. And tell your friends about Uncle Larry's shop.